preparation for the drawing, we need to do the exploded view, so I need to go ahead and make a decision. And for that, we will go with the alternate assembly. And I don't know that I need to worry about the naming or any of the issues. So we'll go ahead and accept. And then if I go back to the default shown as in the picture, I want to leave the existing. So if we come back to our pin 4, and concentric is going to be fine. I don't want to change those, so in this configuration I'm just going to suppress. And so what that means is that this will move, and this will move, and I can add a coincident, and add a coincident, and the other two will stay in effect. Okay, and so at that point, I know that this is the 28, or I believe it's the 28. So if I get a measurement, we have another 20 millimeters, which should put it up at 48. So if I open up the pin, we can also fix the pin 17 thing. I'll go back over here, go into its properties, maybe. There we go. Not sure why I'm getting that. So 17, and we'll take actually the 50 would be pretty good. I don't know that I need to adjust that. The goal is to work this far enough that we can go through and actually get it closer to a buildable assembly. So if I make that 50, got the little bit sticking out the other side, that's flush. All right, so in my default assembly, and then the choice would be in the default. If I were to make this dynamic, well, that's not going to go to a horizontal position. Actually, neither one of those is going to go very horizontal, so I think visually that looks pretty good. So if I were to create an assembly configuration for the dynamic, and then go back into the default, and select control select, we'll just put an angular dimension, 70 degrees looks pretty good. And with the, oh, I can't get there. Okay, so not sure if it added anything, go to the mates, so there's no angle at the end. So probably should round down. Angle, we'll try 65. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The main goal is that we don't have anything moving that we did not intend for it, or possibly flip over in our assembly drawing. So close enough. If we stayed with the 35, we would have that gap. So I don't really want to, mechanically, I want at least 1 times D. So being 10 millimeter, we need to have 10 millimeters of engagement. With this filling it up at 18 millimeters, we're okay with the, almost 2 times D as far as loading support going through that geometry. So if this was the non-rotating, it would be moving back and forth in the assembly. So let's see if we can identify that one. We have the concentric back through the body, and then we have the concentric through the arm. So that would be an assumption that it's press fit or otherwise constrained with the rocker. And then the last pin, I'm not worried about it because it moves with the other two. So the problem there is we don't really have one side as a press fit and the other side as a bearing or bushing. And same thing here is we're riding metal to metal. As far as wear and lubrication, that's not the best way to go. So when we optimize, we'll take a look at those, and maybe it ends up with a bronze sleeve or something in there for it to ride on in these two pieces. All right, so we go through that stack up. We have the ability to do linear motion, whatever is driving over here. If we need to mount a motor or something to provide the drivetrain, then it could go on the backside or the front. We just the backside is going to typically be easier to find the mounting for. All right, so in preparation for the drawing, we go back in. I'm going to create the new exploded view. Let's just start bringing things out this way. And are we having a video issue or? Yeah, I hung. All right, so interestingly enough, the old adage of save often, save oftener comes into play when you haven't saved since the bearings. So I rebuilt part of this, and I don't think we got this before, so I'm going to go ahead and just preview that it's asking me for configuration as I'm bringing it in and going through the process. So haven't had a crash in a while, but since I'm running video capture and however many parts were open, then we kind of take the risks. So I will go ahead and rebuild my configurations, and we'll start on the exploded view with a save before we start manipulating. So all told, I've lost maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes somewhere in there to this point. I'm going to make sure that I save. Not as common with with computers with lots of RAM and pretty powerful video cards, but it still does occasionally happen. So I have the alternate assembly. That is my what if scenario. The dynamic. Oh, that one should have been the default then. Actually, yep, that should have been the default. So since I did not catch that one, we will go back over to the link. And I didn't reorganize these into the hardware. So if I unsuppress that, and then we go back over to the dynamic, and should still be able to see the link 95 and suppress that. So that's why we always want to check the configurations are operating as expected. All right, one more save, Control S on the keyboard, and then we will try for the explode view. So need to figure out what I'm doing that I'm not getting that in context first, but all right, so we'll drag this out. It did not hang up on me. I got my my right button, but I think I'll put in some even values. We need to do done, and then we'll pull out the other pins. Those can come out some distance. And done. And then we'll bring out the arm. And done. So in that isometric, I want to kind of put those where it's going to look, make sure I'm in a good isometric. Might have pulled that one all the way through. So since it's still active, maybe we'll go 150 on it. That was too much. Okay, so that one looks pretty good, so done. Going to pull that one out a little bit. And we're really not going to see the one behind it as far as the pin. So maybe that one will go that way. Oh, and I didn't hit the right mouse button. I didn't check it for the distance, but we'll go back and edit those. Okay, so maybe 50. And done. And then my explode step 6. Yeah, 100's not too bad. And done. And okay. So one more, Control 7. If we hit the space bar, we can check for dimetric. That one doesn't really do anything. How about trimetric? Probably still just as good with the isometric, Control 7. So anyway, it's not perfect. If you want to add the jog lines, the jog lines are going to be under the exploded view, exploded line sketch, show how everything goes together. And that will pretty much prepare us for the drawing. So we'll just do a first pass and get this set up. So if I make drawing from assembly, then I have the My Landscape. And it doesn't look like, oh, I did not grab the predefined views. So we'll go this way. Isometric exploded looks good. And size-wise, I'm not overly concerned at this point. We'll go back into, well, since I'm here, I will add the date. Go back into the view palette. And we want just the regular isometric to go with it. And then to our tables, bill of materials. My bill of material is fine. Accept it. Put it in place. That looks pretty good. Double clicking on the fields will stretch those out. So just got to find that double arrow. So downside with the long material names. I'll just double check those real quick. All right. Size-wise, we are at a 1/5. So I know a half isn't going to fit in there very well, so probably just leave it at that. And if we needed to, we could put the bill of materials on a second page. I don't think we've done that, so maybe this is a good time to show how that works. So if I add the next sheet. Oh, and we have within our grouping to, let's see, where was that? Okay, we have the properties. So within our options, we have the ability, and that was set. Let's say the system options were probably set with the document template. So I'll see this again, and if it becomes something that I want to use, then okay. If not, then I will have to save this back too. So show sheet format dialog when adding new sheets. So if we hit the checkbox, uncheck it, it should just use that recurring sheet. All right, so what was I doing? We're going to come back over here, grab the bill of materials, hit Control X, come back over to sheet 2, hit Control V, and then we can place this pretty much in the same type. If we wanted to add or take away, we had a larger bill of materials, we could manage those. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. So we'll see what a half looks like. Not really any annotations, but yeah, it's pretty big. if we need to go to an off, so since half is too big, let's try a third. That looks pretty good. And we might want to add a note that the bill of materials is on the second sheet. So let's see, S key. And in our annotations, we want the auto balloon. And is that going to be, that's under the table. So maybe we'll put it in the dims would look pretty good. Right, and we can grab that magnet line, pull back. So that doesn't look terrible. And our next sheet comes in correct. So the difference being that I didn't tell it to select. So I guess I'll use this as the deciding if I really like those predefined views or maybe not so much. So the housing, can bring it in. I want to create multiple views, so probably not going to need the side view. And I can't tell what I just selected, so we'll go ahead and hit OK. At 1/5, now I'm not sure what I picked there. So I've been noticing that quite a bit. Picking from the File Explorer that I am managing to grab. Alright, so make sure that I am on the housing and dragging it in. And we want those two. If we drag down, the sheet scale is at 1:5 still, which for this might not be too terrible. See what it looks like at 1/2. And then the isometric view can go to a custom scale, and we'll drop it back to 1:5. That'll just get us some more room. I always think that the isometric view should be obvious not to scale, but sometimes we'll see do not scale ISO view. Okay, adding the next sheet. Come back over. What do we want to do next? The link. Or the wheel. Let's go with the drive wheel. So probably the right side view and the isometric view. This one's at 1/2. That doesn't look too bad. And the size looks okay. Then we'll go to the link. And I keep wanting to go to the design library for some reason, so I think maybe the top. Actually, the side will take up less space, so we'll do something like that. And that's at 1/2 size. So maybe on the next pass, before we add the dimensions, we'll see it making those a little bit bigger. And then the 140 link. Alright, and all of this is because we have the assembly open, and all of these parts are at least loaded into memory if they're not already active. So what we can tell is these are grayed out, and these are in a darker. So these are the active, but because of the associativity, the assembly is referencing all of these parts, so that's how they're making it into memory. So what would be interesting here, and I might have to tinker with a little bit. Now let's go into the view palette, and I will grab the pin. And the pin has our configurations in it, so I would like to just do the one drawing. I'll bring in the front view and the right view. and see about doing a table from our bill of materials, or sorry, from our configurations list. So that gets us into that. I'll probably go ahead and make that a 1-to-1. And then sheet 8 for the bearing. And again, the front view, right side view, isometric view. Go ahead and hit OK. So we've seen both dragging in. The other would be from the S key and going to model view, bringing in those other parts. So again, a couple methods. You're going to adopt one that you think works best for you. So let's go ahead and save, and this can be the rocker drawing. And we'll pause here since this was kind of a fragmented video. I will come back on the next go around and start adding the dimensions, and we'll need to look at those stack up of tolerances as we go through this process.